Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel if you're returning, and if you're new here, welcome. Um, my name is the Robot Devil's Advocate, and I am very excited to be reading this story today. Hopefully, I can get through it because I am tired of reading these stories. They are very good. However, however, I have read these stories like 15, okay, not that many, but probably close to 8 or 9 times now, and I'm kind of tired of it. This story is from Distinct Employer, a user on Reddit. It is titled, I found my grandfather's journal from World War II. I should probably go back and make sure that that's the actual title. And normally I would do a live reading, live reaction, but I've tried to read these stories so many times that I might as well just try to get through it. So, yeah, let me, actually, one second, let me make sure of something. I wanted to make sure that it was the correct user. One second, I'm putting out a YouTube video so I can, listen to lo-fi while I do this. There we go. So, like I said, this is from Distinct Employer 47. He sent me this through an email, which is why the video is titled as such. So, let's get into it. Hey everyone, throwaway for obvious reasons. My name isn't important, but my grandfather's was. One second, I have a ad playing. YouTube ads are just obnoxious now. They used to be like 6 seconds long, and now there's like this, changing the subject really quickly, there's this ad on YouTube for the One Wheel, and it is so long. Like, for no reason so long. Like, it drives me crazy. Like, it's not a good ad either. It's like, when I used to write this thing, people used to ask me, what is that? But now, people have ridden over 50 billion miles on the One Wheel. Like, it drives me crazy. Alright, no more distractions, let's get into the story. Hey everyone, throwaway for obvious reasons. My name isn't important, but my grandfather's was. Lieutenant James Alden Harker. You won't find him in any history books, not for this. He passed 10 years ago, quiet, distant. He never talked about the war, not once, not to my dad, not to me. He'd flinch at fireworks, stare into space for hours, and had this vacancy in his eyes sometimes. We just thought it was PTSD. We had no idea. After my dad died last month, I was cleaning out the attic. Buried under old uniforms with medals he never wore and yellowed maps, I found a locked metal case. Inside were journals, dozens of them, thick, leather-bound, filled with cramped, frantic handwriting that started precise and it had shattered. I've spent weeks reading them, and I honestly feel sick. I feel like I've inherited his trauma. I haven't even told my wife about this, but I have to tell someone. So, he originally posted this on r/no sleep, and there is a rule in there, and I think it is such a dumb rule that it can't be a journal entry. Like, I understand that they want it to be, like, from the perspective of, your perspective, right? But if it's a journal entry from my perspective, like, oh, hey, this is something that happened to me, but I can't quite remember all the details, so I'm going to have to look through my journal. I think that's so cool. I don't get why the no sleep has this, like, issue with the journal entry stories. I think they can be really well done if done right. And you're gonna see this in this story. Like, this story is done right. Like, it's not poorly written or anything like that. Like, the horror comes from what happens in the story, and it's something that he experienced through somebody else's eyes. So you can't tell me that it's not trauma that he's receiving. Okay. Anyway, let's get back into it. Journal entry, November 17th, 1944. Dover Bunker, designated Loom Delta. They buried Uncle Robert today, full military honors. The Harker name echoes in the eulogy, a hollow drumbeat over the grave. Another hero. Me? I just watched from the back. Lieutenant James Alden Harker, the prodigy who never fired a shot in his life, yet wears lieutenant bars. They whisper about my brilliance, my strategic mind. Bullshit. We all know the truth. My bloodline brought me this posting. Grandfather held the Western Front, father stormed the cliffs, and I sit in a concrete bunker, playing God with stolen lives. Project Loom. Victory's dirty little secret. Captain Vickers' hand was heavy on my shoulder, smelling of cheap gin and cordite. Batch 17, Harker. Jersey boys processed and primed. Your family's legacy expects results. He gestured to the reinforced glass. 20 men, not really men anymore. Shells, vacant eyes staring at nothing under harsh lights. Farmers, teachers, a baker, Jenkins. His file said. Processed? I'd asked. Loom Adrian, Lieutenant. Okay, I'm gonna have to zoom in, because I have glasses, but I still can't read. Loom Aridan, Lieutenant, Vickers corrected, his voice devoid of anything human. Necessity. Without it, these civilians are worse than useless. With it, each and every one of them as skilled as a trained officer. I went over the briefing document again. The drug, named after the goddess Eridane, was a complex neuroparalytic cocktail. It did two things. First, it induced a near comatose state, suppressing the host's higher brain functions and motor control. Second, and crucially, it massively amplified the brain's bioelectrical output, and tuned it to a specific radio frequencies. The console I operated was essentially a sophisticated radio transceiver. When I put on the headset and selected a host via a dial selecting their unique frequency, my own neural signals were broadcast and overlaid onto the host's suppressed nervous system. It was basically a fancy walkie-talkie. So I think this is a really neat concept for horror in itself. I could see an entire movie that's kind of like this. It really gives Avatar or Ready Player One, but with actual human lives instead of fake lives. I dialed host 7, Jenkins, the baker. Bang! Artillery fire whizzed overhead. It was like being dunked in iced water. Wet cloth, stale sweat, rotten earth, and shit. No one prepares you for that. No one tells you that men shit themselves when they die. But they do. And the stench is not something easily forgotten. I was Jenkins, crouched in a trench, ankle deep in frigid, sucking mud. Rain needled my face. The air vibrated as rounds the size of cola bottles flew above us. Jenkins, get your goddamn head down, Corporal Riggs shouted. My hand, Jenkins' hand, fumbled with the cold, greased metal of the Springfield. They felt alien, thick, clumsy, but still obeyed my commands. I felt the grit under his nails, the raw chafe of the collar on his neck, the gnawing emptiness in his gut, and worst of all, the constant muffled terror of his trapped consciousness. A panicked bird beating against a cage that had no hope of escaping. Movement, tree line, 200 yards, 2 o'clock, Riggs bellowed. I swiveled. Gray shapes resolved through the rain. Stahlhelms, Germans, a raw animal panic surged through my veins, flooding them with adrenaline. I crushed it, forced calm, forced my finger onto the trigger. Steady, breathe, hold, squeeze, bang. The rifle kicked back as my ears rang and my nose filled with cordite. A gray shape crumbled. How ironic that my first kill was through the hands of a baker. That's when the screaming started. Not men, mortars. Close. Too close. The world erupted. Sound became a physical hammer, smashing my skull. Light seared my eyes. Mud, splintered wood, and red things erupted. The blast wave lifted us. I felt my ribs crack against the trench wall on impact. Agony erupted as I gasped, winded in my body and his. I looked up. A gray helmet over shattered earth stared back at me. Young face, terrified eyes, a Schmeiser muzzle swinging towards me as my broken body responded sluggishly, fumbling for the rifle. too slow. The German's eyes looked at mine almost as though he could see the real me, the coward in the bunker. He fired. The sensation wasn't pain at first, it was heat. A sledgehammer punch high in my chest. I coughed, flooded my mouth. My vision tunneled. Man, normally, like, I can't keep my mouth. I think it's because I didn't drink any water yesterday, and I've been drinking water today, so, like, my mouth is salivating a lot, but I'm having a hard time speaking. The roar of the battle faded, replaced by a deafening gurgle of my own drowning lungs. The cold spread all the way to my toes. The terror wasn't just his anymore. It was an icy ocean swallowing me whole. Light dimmed. The stench of mud vanished, replaced by the overwhelming, cloying reek of fresh blood and voiding bowels, his and mine. Then, snap. Silence, cold concrete, sterile air, the console's soft hum. I tore the headset off, retching bitter bile all over myself. My hands shook uncontrollably. Jenkins was gone. A piece of me lay shattered in the mud. I can't share the rest of the drill because I don't want this taken down, but I will say the worst part of for me is that he kept count. He died 17 times. 17 different men whose deaths he experienced fully. Schmidt, a sniper to the back of the head. Petrovich, bayonet sliding into his stomach. O'Malley, mind blast. The feeling of weightlessness as your legs separated from your body. The descriptions. Christ, the descriptions. He writes about the phantom pains, the smell that haunted him, blood, mud, cordite, the choking sensation, the flinch at every loud noise. Project Loom wasn't just using civilians as puppets. It forced the controllers to live and die inside them, shattering their minds with borrowed trauma. They buried Loom deep after the war, classified, erased. They gave him a medal. I found it cold, heavy, tarnished. They told him to forget. But how do you forget dying 17 times? Reading this, I finally understand the vacancy in his eyes. I understand why he couldn't look at the freshly baked bread. Okay, I don't get that part. I don't know what that's referencing. To be frank, why rain made him shut down. He wasn't just haunted, he was a walking graveyard. I'm posting this because he couldn't, because they buried the truth with the bodies, because men like Jenkins, Schmidt, Petrovich, O'Malley, they deserve more than to be erased footnotes in some classified file. They were used. He was used, and they were all dead long before their hearts stopped. So let's talk about the story. So the story is really interesting. I understand that he didn't want the story to get taken down.